People who cut off their Trump-supporting friends and family members are sharing their stories. Quote, I'm trans, and some family went out of their way to gloat about their vote, knowing what it meant for me, unquote. Morgan Sloss, BuzzFeed staff. With the rise of Donald Trump and MAGA supporters, many people have found themselves at odds with their families and friends. For some folks, relationships and friendships have become so strained that they've ended entirely. Well, Reddit user u/ccallyrun recently asked, quote, how many people here are not speaking to family members or friends because of politics, and why, unquote. Sadly, there were thousands of responses. Here are some of the top answers. 1, quote, I had a big fight with my mom last night and ended up with me saying, if I lose my rights as a gay person because of Trump, I am never visiting or calling again. And that devolved into a shouting match. I'm not happy about it, but I had to say what I had to say. It hurts a lot, unquote. 2, quote, my cousin says ditch diggers deserve starvation wages. I asked, once your ditch diggers all starve, who digs tomorrow's ditch? He dodges the question a few times before just saying that there will always be another sucker. I wasn't the only one who walked away from him that day, unquote. 3, quote, not at the moment, but I'm always on the edge. My father-in-law has been MAGA since the first election. When he has brought up politics, he inevitably gets pissed at something me or my husband says and storms off. This went on for years. Then COVID happened. At first, my father-in-law got the vaccines. Then Fox News started. We didn't realize it, but my in-laws became anti-vaccine after a while. My husband's parents invited us over for my husband's birthday. My husband asked my FIL if he got his booster yet, and then the conspiracies began. I had enough. I was sick of the lockdowns and of people dying. I stopped holding back and started challenging my FIL on all the nonsense. He didn't take it well and told us to leave his house, that he wouldn't be talked down to in his own home, on his son's birthday, mind you, unquote. Quote, I can never imagine my parents telling me to leave their home. I told my husband I would not let it go until I got an apology face to face from his father for kicking us out of his house. It took that man almost a year and a half. After that, I told him that if he can't handle civilized discussions about politics, then he needs to stop bringing it up constantly. And if he ever did anything like that again, I would not accept an apology, unquote. 4, quote, my dad was a very liberal person. Once he retired, he spent way too much time going down YouTube rabbit holes. Now he is a conservative conspiracy theory nut job. He can always find a way to direct a conversation towards some conspiracy, unquote. 5, quote, I decided to cut ties with a friend after he tried to convince me that Haitians were eating cats and dogs. I miss him. Sometimes I still see a funny meme and think, I should send it to him before remembering I blocked him. MAGA sucks, unquote. 6, quote, not family, but a friend who was with me through thick and thin for 20 years. I was the best man at 2 of his 3 weddings and uncle to his kids. We were so close that the people at work thought he was my brother. He's very conservative and we agreed to disagree on things. That ended on January 7, 2021. The thing that gets me is that he's a decorated combat veteran who had a stockpile of guns to defend the country from tyranny. I told him that the people who stormed the Capitol on that day were criminals and needed to be fully prosecuted as such. That was the last time I heard from him. He went full MAGA, and honestly, I wouldn't feel safe around him, unquote. 7, quote, I had to make the decision to cut off my mother. This was her second chance and she blew it. She was always an unpleasant person to begin with, but the last few elections, politics became her entire personality. She probably thinks this will blow over, but I'm done. I cannot reconcile having a relationship with someone who actively supports people who want me dead because of my sexuality. This is not a we'll agree to disagree subject. Before my dad died, he asked me to please give my mother as much patience and understanding as I could. But he understood that there was a limit and sometimes you have to walk away. I've done that, unquote. Quote, I've tried so hard, but she just doesn't want to change. She's content to wallow in hatred and bigotry because she thinks it's okay. She is the exact opposite of what I believe in, and I wouldn't associate with a stranger with these beliefs, so I'm done giving her a chance just because we share genetics, unquote. 8, quote, I am very low contact with my father. He drank the Trump Kool-Aid the first go round. He no longer watches Fox News because he considers it too liberal. His health care is through the VA, Veterans Affairs. I'm just waiting to see if the inevitable taking away of those things there wakes him up, unquote. 9, quote, I'm trans and some family went out of their way to gloat about their vote, knowing what it meant for me and breaking the silent agreement. More of a final straw kind of thing, but a big one, and they didn't have to bring it up, unquote. 10, quote, it wasn't just politics, it was a bunch of other stuff that clicked that made me realize how much I dislike them and don't relate to them. My mom celebrating the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and my parents being painfully and obviously upset that I protested the Klan trying to have a meet and greet in my town was the straw that broke the camel's back, unquote. 11, quote, they voted against my human rights and the future of my children, their grandchildren. Fuck them. They know better and are better than this fucking King Tangerine, but here we are, unquote. 12, quote, FIL constantly spams my wife and my Facebook Messenger apps with a shit ton of MAGA bullshit. Asked him to stop, and he said no because he thinks it's funny that it upsets his daughter. He was an asshole before. Now it's no holds barred. I cut him off right away. She tried to give him a chance. But yes, that asshat has been blocked for a while now, unquote. 13, quote, I have a trans son. The in-laws not only voted for the most evil choice imaginable, they want to have discussions with us because we're going down the wrong path, and they just want us to understand the dangers of socialism. My wife just hung up. The kicker. Her mother is absolutely up for deportation under the current administration. Without a serious mea culpa, they won't be welcome in our home, unquote. 14, quote, I pulled back from my friends and some of my family, not going to lie. I'm struggling with, do they support and agree with everything that is going on? Is that what's in their hearts? Are they anti-diversity, okay with pulling out of the WHO, stopping cancer research, pardoning domestic terrorists, pro-division of America for all this chaos, pro-being a dick? Is this what they want? It's what they voted for. None of this makes America better. So with all the shit in the news, I'm trying to stay focused on my family and kids and limit whatever noise and uncomfortableness I can. I've been wondering if I'm alone, unquote. 15, quote, my parents fly a Trump flag. I'm queer. They do not believe me when I tell them what Trump has done or said, and they parrot the bullshit that the talking heads on Fox News feed them. I figure they won't listen to me, and their views are on the opposite side of people who actively want to harm me. So what's the point in talking to them, unquote. 16, quote, a former friend who relies on Medicaid and Section 8 texted smugly that she owned the libs. I said she better figure out how to work because her aid was being cut and her taxes were going up, unquote. 17, and finally, quote, my husband's family, we never really had the same morals. They're extremely religious. I believe in gay rights, trans rights, women's rights, public schools, etc. And they never did. In 2024, my husband and I got pregnant with our second child. We were so excited. They were excited. We found out at the 12-week scan that our baby was very sick and likely wouldn't make it to birth. We had to terminate in another state because we live in a red state. We went through so much hell and trauma because of Trump's abortion laws here in our state. I won't even get into all of it, but it's stuff we'll never get over. His family didn't know how to be there for us and frankly didn't try hard enough, unquote. Quote, I had plenty of family and friends that did, so I know it was possible for them to. They just didn't. Then to add insult to injury, they all voted for Trump. I even had a meeting with my mother-in-law and showed her all the things that we went through, all of our baby stuff, what we had to do. And she argued with me and said it wasn't Trump that did this and that it should have always been in the hands of the states. I told her we could agree to disagree. I put myself out there with her and attempted to heal a relationship. And yeah, it's not going to be healed. How can I ever look past that? I can't and I won't, unquote. Original BuzzFeed story linked in the description below.